Dr. Memuna. Today we will discuss nerves. So, what is the difference between a nerve and a neuron? As we have already discussed that a neuron is composed of cell body, dendrites, and an elongated axon. So, when many axons are collected into a bundle and wrapped into a connective tissue or a protective covering, this results in the formation of a nerve. So, nerve is a collection of axons into bundle, and each bundle have several protective coverings, and these coverings are the endoneurium, perineurium, and epineurium. In this diagram, you can see the outermost covering of the nerve is called epineurium. So it's labeled over here. Epineurium is the outermost covering of the nerve. And then you can see the perineurium. Perineurium is present around bundles of axons. And then you can see the endoneurium. Endoneurium is present around the individual nerve fiber, or you can say around the axon. So these three protective covering layers are basically a fibrous tissue, a connective tissue that supports that protect the nerve. Now, division of nerves. We have three types of nerves in our body: sensory nerves, motor nerves, and mixed nerves. Sensory nerves, as its name indicate, that they carry sensations. So they carry sensation and transmit impulses from the body to the spinal cord. Sensory nerves arises from the sensory receptors, and sensory receptors respond to sensations, different sensations. And we have three major types of sensations: somatic sensations, proprioceptive sensations, and special senses. So first of all, what are the somatic sensations? All those sensations that originate in the skin, these are called somatic sensations. So we have sensory receptors for pain, touch, heat, and cold in our skin. And these sensations, pain, touch, heat, and cold, these are the sensations. These sensations are carried by sensory nerves from their sensory receptors from the skin towards the spinal cord, and these sensations can also be transmitted towards the brain through interconnected neurons. Next is proprioceptive sensations. All those sensations which originate from the muscle and joints, these are called proprioceptive sensations. And then we have special sensations. Special sensations include sight, hearing, olfaction, balance, and taste. So sensory nerves carries these sensations from their receptors, from their sensory receptors towards the spinal cord and finally to the brain. Then we have autonomic efferent nerves. Autonomic efferent nerves means which carry impulses from the internal organs and glands towards the spinal cord and brain, right? So sensory nerves are also known as efferent nerves. Efferent nerves means all those nerves which carry information or which carry sensation from the skin and the internal organs towards the spinal cord. So you must remember efferent. Efferent means sensory nerves. Motor nerves. Motor nerves, as the name indicate, that these nerves carry motor sensations. Motor nerves are also known as efferent neurons, right? So afferent stands for sensory and efferent stands for motor. So motor or efferent neurons, they transmit impulses from the spinal cord to the effector organs. We have two types of motor nerves, somatic nerves and autonomic nerves. Somatic nerves carries impulses from the CNS towards the skeletal muscles, and autonomic nerves carries impulses from the CNS towards the smooth muscle and cardiac muscles. As you know that we have three types of muscles in our body: skeletal muscle, smooth muscles and cardiac muscle. So here you must remember that the motor nerve that innervates the skeletal muscle are known as somatic nerves, and all those nerves that innervate the smooth muscle and cardiac muscle are known as autonomic nerves. And autonomic nerves is further divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic division. Then the mixed nerves. What are the mixed nerves? As their name indicate that these nerves carry both types of fibers, motor fibers as well as sensory fibers. So some fibers are motor and some fibers are sensory. Normally in the spinal cord, sensory and motor nerves are arranged in separate groups. So in spinal cord you can see a sensory tract and a motor tract, but outside the spinal cord, both the sensory and motor nerves, they can be enclosed in one sheet of connective tissue, and this results in the formation of a mixed nerve. Now coming towards the neuroglia. What is neuroglia? It is basically just a supporting structure that supports the neurons in your nervous system. So neuroglia are the supporting cells of the brain and spinal cord, and also in the peripheral nervous system. Neuroglial cells are non-excitable supporting cells. Non-excitable means they cannot be excited, impulses cannot pass from these neuroglial cells, as impulses can travel in neurons. So neurons are the excitable cells, but neuroglial cells are non-excitable cells. These are just supporting cells. Their number is more than the neurons, and neuroglial cells can divide, they can replicate, but neurons of the central nervous system, they cannot divide. We have four types of neuroglial cells: astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, ependymal cells and microglia. So in this diagram you can see all the four types of glial cells. First of all, we will discuss the astrocytes. Astrocytes, as on the right side you can see in the diagram, they are star shaped, and at their endings you can see swellings, right? These swellings are called foot processes, and astrocytes are found mainly near the blood vessels, and along the blood vessels their foot processes enclose just like a sleeve around the blood vessel. So they can enclose a blood vessel. This results in the formation of a blood-brain barrier, a barrier that exists between the blood vessels and neuron. So the function of astrocyte is to form blood-brain barrier. You can see the sleeve of astrocytes around the blood vessel, which helps in the formation of blood-brain barrier. Second one is the oligodendrocyte. Oligodendrocytes are smaller than the astrocytes, and they are mainly found in the gray matter. So gray matter is an area where you can find all the cell bodies of the neurons. In the gray matter they have just supporting function, but when they form myelin sheet around the neurons of the central nervous system, So their main function is to form myelin sheet around the neurons of the central nervous system. Now the ependymal cells. Ependymal cells, they basically form a lining around the ventricles of the brain, and also they form a lining of the central canal of the spinal cord. So those ependymal cells that are present in the choroid plexus of the ventricles, they also helps to secrete out cerebrospinal fluid, which is also known as CSF. Here in this diagram you can see the ependymal cells that forms the lining of the central canal of the spinal cord, and these ependymal cells are also present in the lining of the ventricles. Last one neuroglial cell is the microglia. Microglia are basically the macrophages of the central nervous system, and microglia are derived from the monocytes. Those monocytes that have been migrated from the blood into the nervous system, and again these are found around the blood vessels. And we know that the function of macrophages is phagocytosis. So they microglia help to remove the microorganisms and any damaged tissue in areas of cell destruction and areas of inflammation. Here is a brief description of functions of all the neuroglial cells that you must remember. That astrocytes helps in the formation of blood-brain barrier. Oligodendrocytes are responsible for myelination of the neurons in the central nervous system. Ependymal cells, they line the ventricles and helps in the formation of CSF. Microglia are basically the macrophages of the CNS and help in the phagocytosis of the microorganisms. Now coming towards the nerve injury. Nerve injury is basically damage to the nerves. So causes of nerve injury, number one is the hypoxia and anoxia. It means deficiency of oxygen delivery to the neurons. Whenever there is decreased partial pressure of oxygen, it results in decreased supply of oxygen to the nerves or the neurons. This will cause damage to the neurons. Then we have nutritional deficiencies, like for example vitamin B12 deficiency. It can lead to nerve damage. We have poisons like organic lead. It can also destroy the neurons. Then trauma, for example any head injury, it can lead to nerve injury. Infections, for example tuberculosis. Tuberculosis of the brain can lead to damage to the nerves. Then with aging, many nerve injuries can occur with age, with increase in the age. Last one is the hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia means fall in the glucose level, blood glucose levels, right? When there is decrease in the glucose levels of the blood, nerve injury can occur. So hypoglycemia can lead to nerve injury, and our brain cells, they basically need glucose for their survival. Now peripheral nerve regeneration, basically central nervous system nerves cannot regenerate. Only the peripheral nerves, they can regenerate. And peripheral nerves can also regenerate only when their cell body survives, where nucleus of the neuron is present. So how regeneration occurs? Basically an area that is distal to the injury, there is damage to the neuron and the myelin sheet, but Schwann cells do survive, and these Schwann cells are responsible for the formation of for the formation of myelin around the peripheral nerves. So in central nervous system, oligodendrocytes are responsible for the formation of myelin sheath, but in the peripheral nervous system, Schwann cells are responsible for the formation of myelin sheath around the nerves, around the neurons. So the proximal part of the axon, it grows towards the distal end. Then it grows, the proximal axon, it grows along the original track, and it provides only when the two parts, the proximal and the distal parts, they are in close apposition. It means they are closely, they are not far apart from each other. So if the neurilemma is correctly positioned and is in close apposition, then only regeneration could occur. Thank you.